Hey, what is up everyone? With Season 13 coming this week and Flameheart's return imminent to the Sea of Thieves, one of the things that's been on my mind recently is, was this a good setup for Flameheart's return? You might be thinking immediately that, of course Parker, this is obviously amazing, we're getting the Burning Blade as a ship that we can take control over and play in, we get skeleton camps which are going to be amazing, they're basically a new type of sea fort or sunken treasury, basically the stuff that you always love to do, and we're getting a ton of cosmetics to go along with all the stuff. So of course it's going to be a great return for Flameheart. And I agree with all that, mainly because I just said it and wrote all of that, but the thing that I really want to talk about in this video is the build up to Flameheart's return good enough for what Flameheart really is and what it means to Sea of Thieves and its story. So Flameheart has really been this big bad villain of Sea of Thieves for a long time. For years we've been anticipating his return, especially after the events of the Return of the Dam adventure where we voted for him to come back and we, supported his return. I know we got rid of adventures from the game, so I'm not going to try to say like, hey, we needed an adventure to lead into this, but I do think there needs to be a bigger build up and some kind of event to explain why at this exact moment has Flameheart returned, even seeing like the construction of the skeleton camps leading up to Season 13. If you remember in the past, we used to have build up to a lot of these different additions. If you remember with Captaincy, we used to see the Sovereign tent get built up over time and we kept wondering, what is going there? What's happening to all of this? We saw the same thing with what was going on with Reaper's hideout. We saw that getting built over time. Whereas with Season 13, the skeleton camps just are going to appear out of nowhere. There's no build up to it, there's no, hints of things going on. I'm not saying there isn't any build up or in the storyline, because there's stuff from the little orb that's found at Reaper's hideout. There's been things moving around like the Burning Blade figurehead getting moved to Reaper's hideout. So there has been some stuff, but that feels more of like just kind of a bandage solution because they got rid of adventures and they probably had planned to tell the story through that instead of what they're doing now. But for me, I find it a little disappointing that Flameheart is just here now, and there wasn't really anything to go with it. Personally, I think the best way they could have handled this is that in Season 12, we should have got a tall tale that led into Flameheart's return. You could literally just call it simply the return of Flameheart as like a tall tale that could have followed the Heart of Fire. Kind of bridge the gap between Heart of Fire to now, and kind of explain what has happened since then for people that are just starting out in the game that maybe don't know the history of Flameheart, give us some fun new content to do, and really get us hyped up for Season 13. It also would have really helped with some of my complaints about Season 12. If you watch my review video that I put out a few days ago, one of the biggest things that I had criticism of Season 12 is that we had no new gameplay really to do with this past season. We got all these new tools with the daggers and the scatter shot and all that stuff, which is great, but in terms of what to actually do, there wasn't really anything. Season 13 is really going to help change that, but if you imagine, if we had just one tall tale, either halfway through Season 12 or the month before Season 13 released, that would have been a really exciting bit of content added to the game, would have given us a new replayable tall tale, so replayable content, and it really would have honored that this is a significant moment for the game and for the players. I'm happy that we got a little bit of a cinematic trailer for Flameheart's return back with the Xbox Game Showcase, but if we think about that, while it was cool to see him, it was very short. It wasn't the same as like what we got with the trailers for the adventures, where it was more like talking and like being able to see more cinematics. It really was just a trailer for gameplay and to kind of intrigue people that aren't really playing Sea of Thieves. It wasn't really for us players, it was for marketing to non-Sea of Thieves players, which is fine, but it doesn't really satisfy me personally. Now, perhaps we get into Season 13 and stuff will start happening after he's returned, and maybe that will justify it a little bit more. Maybe Flameheart will start doing things in the world, and maybe we'll start seeing build up to stuff happening in the future. And maybe this is just the start of Flameheart's plans and even bigger stuff is to come soon. That would be all great and stuff, but for right now, I just feel a little bit disappointed that the storyline and just kind of the building and excitement for stuff isn't really there. Honestly, if you were to just look at the game right now and didn't look at any online media, you wouldn't really know that Flameheart is returning and that it's just going to be a huge change in a few days. There's no buildup on the islands. Flameheart hasn't really been talked about or seen for several years since we've basically released him and brought him back to life. So I think for new players it might be a little bit jarring, especially if they don't really know the significance of it. It's basically going to kind of look like the villain of the week type thing for I think a lot of players, where they're not really going to know the significance of the history and the lore of Flameheart. So not having something to really bridge that gap with like a tall tale or even just a new cinematic trailer that kind of covers the story a little bit more, yeah, I think it's going to hurt a little bit. But that covers my thoughts on Flameheart's return. Don't get me wrong, I'm really excited for Season 13. I'm excited to see Flameheart in person in the game. That's all going to be really cool. I just think it could have been handled a little bit better, and it honestly would just be nice to have a new Tall Tale that was their original Tall Tale and not some collaboration. So that's all I have to talk about in this video. Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you like and subscribed. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.